Perfect, Bonnie, thank you very much. I will call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I believe Justin is leading that for us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, would you like to introduce
Good evening, I'm Kirsten McCarl, and I am the choir director here at Ording High School as well as Ording Middle School. And this is our select choir who is going to be singing the national anthem. So if you would all stand back up again.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Wow. This gave us the chills. Thank you so much. All right. So this is our board work session. So we have a few items of business before we turn it over to our high school. So the first item for discussion tonight is our board calendar and public records requests. So board checking in with you, see if there's any comments, conflicts, all is well. Wonderful. And then tonight we have a first reading of select board policies. These are all non-discrimination policies as well as personal leave policy. I did not have any questions, and I did not see any come forth in advance of the meeting, so we will go ahead and move these forward to second reading. And with that, and now, these board work sessions at our schools are some of our very favorite. So now I'll invite our high school team. I'm not sure who's up first to present tonight.
Okay, so we'll just, even though we're in an intimate environment, this big space, we'll just try to have you guys have mics, and keep it close to yourself when you're speaking to the board. So, yeah, the more of these we do, I really like these events. I think it's a really good practice to, report to the board. I know you know all this because you've seen our CSIP. There'll be a few reminders to kind of keep you. I know you have a lot of business, so you might not remember all the goals. So we'll try to touch base on each of the goals as we go through. We've got a lot of stakeholders here. What I've learned over time in doing these is the best way to do it is just do the real work and report the real work. So we invite as many stakeholders as possible to talk about the work. And like always, we don't know what they're saying. We didn't improve. They didn't give us speeches. I know Mom back there has a written speech. We've got a few other folks with slides written. But they're just going to speak from the heart to what is real and what's going on in high school. So we have 4 goals, as you guys know, 4 board goals. Goal 1 around academics, essential standards in ELA and math. Goal 2 around parent-student voice. Goal 3 is Cards Way to connect with the community, or for a whole child. And goal 4 is special ed students with IEPs or growth in ELA and math, qualified areas. Problem of practice, I don't need to read that to you, you saw it in the CSIP, but mainly we noticed academically our students were not always on track with their peers across the state, and that's just something we want the best for working students, and we definitely want our students doing as well or better than others. We've got to make sure we handle it better. Some other problems we saw, some unkind behavior that we noticed in the last few years since COVID. Although it was getting better, we were seeing some real unkind behavior. Also seeing a tick in some male behavior. And what's going on with our male students, and how do we treat one another, and how do we treat our students. So you know this, you've heard this last year, and probably hear this next year. Student ownership and students seeing themselves as a part of their education is what we believe is key to a problem practice, and what we think will solve any issues we have here in Orting. Is kids now are not kids from before. I don't know your ages, but I'm assuming you're at least as old as me. When we were in school, you listened because your teacher said so. Their teacher, how dare you remember? And you do what you're supposed to because that's what you're supposed to do. Kids now are more worldly, more in touch with what they need, and they know everything about the world. And they're first to ask, why this, why not, why do I have to do this? Tell me why this is relevant to my life in the summit. And if it's not, you're not going to get them out of it. So more and more you have to show kids why it's valuable, why you need to do it, because I'm the teacher and I said so, just is not a thing anymore. So that's really what we're trying to increase when we say student ownership. And so hopefully we'll have some students who talk about that tonight. So goal 1 specifically, I know you've seen our goals, but just to remind you, by spring of 25, we want an additional 24 students out of 220 in 10th grade to reach proficiency as determined by iReady, OHS, CFAs, and SBA data. I know you guys are not in the building every day. iReady is the test, the assessment that you all provided for our high school. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. CFA is a common formative assessment, so we all dipstick our kids at a certain time and go, we're going to just see, heat check where our kids at, and then we're going to look at the data with one another. And you're going to hear some teachers talk about those, and SBA, probably known as the Smarter Balance Assessment that we take, state assessment, in 10th grade. Math, similar, we want to increase by 11 students, which reached 32%, level 3 or 4 is determined by iReady, OHS, CFAs, and SBA. So, similar increase in math. Much heavier lift, but we're really excited about doing that. We're going student by student on those. And that will be explained by our English and math department. Yeah. That's great. So why 24 and 11? So what we did is we believe if we're doing our work right, we need to check, is it working? So we went kid by kid. I'll be real. The department went kid by kid. And what kids do we think, if we do our job right, we do it well, we make the change we want, what kids do we think are going to pop over that line? So let's say you have a kid who has 70 absences in a year. It's probably not count that. Not that we're not intervening with that kid, teaching that kid, but what we can expect. So as we're doing our work, go look at those 24 students who we think are right on the line and we think they should be moving. And if they're not moving, are we doing the right work, right? So we did that kid by kid, looked at every single kid, so that we could, throughout the year, go look at those kids and is this group that we believe should be successful or doing our work right, popping up above that proficiency limit? So they identified those kid by kid. Any questions? If not, I'd like to hand it over to my ELA. To come up. We had our other department head, she had a family emergency. So Ms. Sriwitz, longtime English teacher, and our department chair is going to talk to you about the work going on in English. Since it's February, we don't have a report maybe for where students are at the end of the year, but a tremendous amount of work has been done on both English and math that is genuine and real, and I just want to honor that work tonight. I'm happy to speak.
Hi. So I'm Micah Rewitz. I know a lot of people here. I teach 10th grade, and I'm the 10th grade PLC leader. And so for English, 9th and 10th grade, we kind of looked at the standards that we said we want to focus on because we think these are the ones that we know our kids struggle with and that are also really important in just life. And so one of the big ones is Standard 10 for both informational and for literature. And so for informational text, it says determine an author's point of view or purpose in the text and analyze how the author uses rhetoric to advance that point of view. And then for literature, it says analyze a point of view or cultural experience reflected in a work of literature. For 9th grade or 9th, 10th band, it specifically says from outside the United States, drawing on a wide reading of world literature. So these have been standards we've tried to focus on for a while. We decided we're going to focus and test these this year. Can you go back to the slide? This year is the first time we've used the iReady test. We gave all 9th and 10th grade students a diagnostic test to see their skills, and we have never had a test like this before. So we're hopeful this will kind of show us as teachers the areas we need to focus on, and then also we're going to give it 3 times throughout the year, and so that'll let us see the students' growth on that test. It confirmed that the standards that we picked for our priority standards are standards that we want to work on. It's that we've got a lot of kids who still need to reach proficiency in those standards. We do have, in addition to the iReady, we have common assessments in both grade levels that the teachers have developed that we're using to test kids on these standards. And then also now that we have the iReady, we can kind of look and go, how are we grading the students? Is that showing similar results to what the iReady is showing as far as their proficiency on the standards? 10th grade, something new we're trying this year just to try to hit more skills. We realized we didn't do a lot of grammar instruction, and so we decided we're trying rotating vocabulary with grammar instruction and then also additional writing practice, just to see if that can have a positive effect on their achievement as well. Go ahead. And then these are some things that our 9th grade teacher put together. So she said as a group they crafted, try to make a streamlined way for students to set goals and reflect on their learning. And so those are a little hard to see, but basically that's like a list of the tests that they've done, the assessments on their skills. And then it says they've chosen a goal as what they're going to work on, and so their options are on the right side there. And so those are basically the parts or the different things they need to do to give a well-written answer on an assessment like this. And so the first one is that they can determine that point of view. The second one is about their evidence. And then the third one is about being able to add commentary or explanation. So students picked one of those areas to focus on, and then there's like a place where they can track how they're doing on their assessments throughout the year. Go ahead. And then this one, it says it's more about their goal setting. What area or areas of an assessment would you like to improve on? So when they are going to revise an assessment, to pick something to focus on to show improvement in that area. Okay. And then now I'm going to ask Justin to come back up here. Okay. And the questions are here, so I'm probably going to just I don't know, I can just pass the mic. And he's just going to talk a little bit about his experience. He's had me as a teacher in 10th. He's had Miss Burns 11th and 12th, and so he's had who was your 9th grade teacher? Oh, okay. So and Miss Almond, who's not with us anymore, but she was here for a long time too. So different English teachers, and just to talk a little bit about his skills and things that how English has helped him. So, how do you think that reflecting on your writing and reading skills will affect you as a learner?
English, it affects all parts of your life. I think the biggest one for me right now is writing a resume. First impressions, interviews, the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, it's a large part of how the interviewer sees you. While writing letters, or sending emails, all sorts of things, it affects everything in your life. Just the way you talk to your friends, the way you talk to your parents, you grow up, the way you talk to your kids, the way you talk to your wife or husband. Affects all facets of life.
All right, and what do you enjoy about English class?
I think the best part about our English class is the amount of expression that we're allowed to have. I remember freshman year, honestly, I just hated English. I wasn't patient enough to read. I didn't want to pay attention long enough to actually listen to what the teacher was saying. But they always egged me on when I was talking. They always told me, "Oh, we'll put a more learning point in there." And they he created that environment where I could express myself and say whatever I was thinking or feeling, and being able to help me translate that and put it on paper into an assignment. And that's helped me a lot. It's helped me a lot.
All right, and then what are some of the takeaways that you've gained from English throughout your years?
Like I said, I never wanted to read a book.
Buy you some time, Justin, buy you some time.
Never wanted to read a book. It gave me patience. I looked, when I was a freshman, I tried to write a book. And I read it. I read back through it, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. Yeah, like they were talking about the grammar, I have horrible grammar. I think if I tried to do that now, it would be much, much better. But yeah, just seeing the improvement it's amazing. I've transformed myself, and it's affected the way I talk too. I feel more confident when I talk. I can carry myself better. It makes you feel like I feel like I'm more respectful too. It makes you feel like a more mature person.
And then how have you taken ownership in English class?
In English, this year, a little bit last year, mainly this year, we have a bigger assignment. Ms. Burns, she always has us make our own rubric. So after class, we sit down and we talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how we grade. 4 is an A, 3 is a B, and so on. And she'll have us walk through, like, what do you think an A should be for this assignment? And we'll say, oh, citing 3 different sources and giving this much evidence. And it brings you closer to the assignment. It makes it not just an assignment, it makes it your assignment. So when you're doing that and you have 2 sources and you're thinking, I can just get a B, but then you realize that you're the person that suggested to get 3 sources. That's only 3 sources.
Thank you so much, Justin. Oh, absolutely, yeah, sorry.
I was wondering if you practice writing and reading in different genres and also if I read readers, various genres.
So I don't know about the iReady, the specific things that it asks as far as writing goes. So in 9th and 10th grade, we primarily focus on informational writing. 9th grade does narrative writing, 10th grade we do argumentative writing. On the SBA, they primarily ask students to either do an informational or an argumentative writing task, so that's kind of a lot of the motivation for those types. And then this year, one of the things we added in with our writing practice is we're actually like, it's more, I don't want to call it creative writing because it's not very long, but it's just different questions, and students have a little bit more choice in how they answer them. And we're also asking them to try to demonstrate some of the grammar we've been working on when they write that task. So we're calling them quick writes, and it's just basically just kind of a quick way to get some more writing practice and also try to use some of the grammar and vocabulary instruction.
Just to mention about the letter writing and the resume, do they get to practice that in classes?
So I know we have a business English class that is an option for some students, and they definitely work on that there. We don't really have like resume instruction at this point in the regular, at least in the regular 12th grade class. So I know last year we actually worked with kids because they did it for part of their high school beyond plan. And so probably we're going to be incorporating that still. So that kids make sure they do have that, they're graduating with that, even if they're not in the business English class.
They are.
All right, now, yes.
I was just wondering, I know that for college, you have to do really like document literature and different things. And like Cliff said, you have to show the kids why that's important. Do you have a hard time getting those kids that don't see themselves going to college to buy into those kinds of units?
I definitely think there can be kids who have a hard time. So I teach just the Gen Ed senior English class, and we read Beowulf, and we read, I should say excerpts from Beowulf, we read excerpts from the Iliad. And the last couple of years, like, the kids are just kind of like, oh, this is what we're doing. And I really, they might not love it all the time, but I don't feel like I have to work super hard for that buy-in. I know right now we're starting with Macbeth, and I've had kids say like, oh, we read aloud. I better do a reading part so I make sure I'm paying attention. And I'm like, well, that's fantastic. So, they notice that about themselves.
And I wanted to thank Justin. I'm so glad you found your voice in your writing, and that you're right, that does help you with your spoken voice. Good job. I'm glad you enjoyed reading.
Justin, I had the opportunity to meet you when you were younger, maybe 9th grade, maybe 10th grade, and I just wanted to share how impressive you are, an excellent public speaker, and you spoke well and eloquently and with purpose, and it was just very impressive. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll go ahead and hand it over to the math department now. Thank you.
Hello, I am Bethany Walker, and I am a high school math teacher here. I teach integrated math 1 and integrated math 2.
I'm Kayla Janko, also a math teacher, obviously. I teach integrated math 2 and the college and the high school statistics and pre-calculus classes.
So we did a quick bullet point for you, and then we'll dive deeper into each one. So this is our summit journey for 2024 and 25. The first one is piloting a new curriculum. We did Carnegie Learning based on, we noticed that there's high marks in critical thinking. We'll talk about that in a second. Utilizing iReady. Sriwit's already talked about how we have adopted iReady in the diagnostic part of that. And it also gives us individual lessons called MyPath. So that way it's already pre-made. So it's like they scored low in geometry, they go to MyPath, and then the skills and lessons are already there for that student.
We've also been identifying students that we can work with in specific areas in their based off their SBA score and their iReady score. Cliff kind of mentioned about that already, trying to get down to those individual students and who can be nudged over the line. Some based off of just like making progress, like they might have been a low 1, can we get them up to a high 1 or low 2? And those who might have been right at this cusp, can we get them over to proficient? We've also been working on creating benchmark common formative assessments that align with some of those breakdown of levels that iReady gave us, like, oh, they're struggling in this area, they're at about a 5th grade level, 8th grade level. So we tried to match it up with that based off of our current standard, but what are the feeder standards that will help them improve in those areas. And we've also been working on engaging students with these activities and tasks that promote critical thinking. A lot of that has to do with our new curriculum, but also some of the ones that we come up with and how we try to get our students thinking in class.
Okay, so we are piloting a new curriculum, Carnegie Learning, and it really, the creator of Building Thinking Classrooms actually helps collaborate with this curriculum, and so it's really high into those critical thinking tasks, to think about the math and those collaborating skills that we all need in the future. And then also the vertical surfaces, so getting students out of their seats and also doing the non-permanent, so using those whiteboarded markers, so if they make a mistake or something, then they can erase it and it's not that permanent kind of feeling. And so these are just examples throughout the year we've done so far. A couple examples are they took a task and then they kind of did a gallery walk, and then they made comments of like, maybe they should have explained a little bit more on their thinking process, that kind of thing. And then, next slide. And then these are just a couple of other examples, and what's nice about this new curriculum is that there's also an online supplement. So not only are you getting the practice on paper, but there's also like an adaptive kind of AI. So it gives them examples and step-by-step hints, and then they get that formative, quick little, oh, do I get it? Do I not get it? Do I need more help? That kind of thing.
All right, and then, so in our iReady, Bethany kind of talked about how it was going, it went through skills, and then we would try to look at specific skills and how to intervene on that. This just shows on the left hand, just a small snip of some of my students who took the diagnostic and shows where they're at. So like the 4 different areas that it looks at overarching, like measurement and data, numbers and operations, algebraic thinking, geometry thinking. So you can see like some of the green, some of the yellow, some of the red. So like green, like at level, yellow, kind of close to level, red, far from level, and then it takes that information within each of those, like what are the standards that they were missing or hitting, and then designs, here's one of the students' actual ones that lists out lessons to help with their specific skills that they need. So it's very individualized and very helpful to the personal student, wherever they're at. And then it's already loaded for them, they can work at their own pace and get help where they need, instead of trying to do like a whole group and just doing one intervention, trying to blanket it. Very confused.
So we, along with iReady, have also created our own common informative assessment based on our essential standard, and it all has to do with solving linear equations. And so one thing we really want is, can students actually understand that standard and put it in their own words? And then we have different levels. So we took that standard and actually worked our way back to 5th grade and where that standard's leading to high school. And so that's our level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8, and then level 9, which is our high school. And so then after students get this back and get the feedback, they actually create a goal and be like, I was at a level 5, I want to work my way up to at least a level 9 by the end of this year. And so not only are we using iReady, but also these quick little common informative assessments to kind of see as well.
Some of the tasks that we have been trying to work with students on to try to get them engaged in the math, because we all know that everybody's first thing they want to do in the morning is math, right? But we try to make it engaging in different ways and try different things out with them. So some of the things that we really got from the curriculum earlier, we showed those with like the vertical surfaces, some of the more critical thinking skills, like not just asking a problem, but relating it to like, how is the penny road going? Having them really think about it in a different way than just solving an equation. And then we also try to throw like different things at them. One of the things we do is like work on non-permanent surfaces, like Bethany was talking about. Students, when they like write even with pencil that's erasable, it feels too permanent for them, so they get like kind of nervous too. But trying to take out some of that and make it kind of like where they're, oh, I like writing on desks. I like being able to write on like with expo markers. Trying to get them doing activities and things that might not be what you would traditionally think about as a math problem. Like it might be something that doesn't seem like it's doing math equations or anything, but it's getting at like problem solving, critical thinking about how can you figure out how many different ways this could be done. And so just opening that kind of mind for the kids so that they have an entry point and feel comfortable and maybe a little bit fun. Yes.
So I absolutely use the mic. I really like, I wish I had this individual, you call it My Path, tool with iReady that allows students to progress, but you don't have to like wait for everyone to get to the same point. And I see the activities. So what does a day in class look like? Is it you teaching a big subject for the first 15 minutes and then the students focus on their lessons in MyPath?
So MyPath, we do those like maybe like our Fridays or something, like a intervention day, so that the kids can get ready for that. With the day-to-day lessons with the curriculum, it's very student-based, so like they're posed some problems, the students try it out, discuss it, and then in their small groups, and then and that might be like at your table, at a wall, something like that. And then we'll bring them all together, talk about what they found, and have them come up with some ideas that we will all come to a consensus with, and like, okay, now how does that affect this next thing? And so have them try that out. So it's very kind of exploratory, like they explore, kind of come up with it, and then we submit together, and then kind of push on that, and then try to build from there. Would you add anything?
And the curriculum also does, you'll have students' work already pre-made into the curriculum, and they'll give a thumbs down and a thumbs up. So it's another way to help students like discuss and those are mistakes that we see as math teachers too. So it kind of helps us do that, error analysis piece.
So, are you finding with the new curriculum that a lot of kids are having a hard time with it?
Yes, because they so want to go back to not putting too much thought into things. They want, just give me the rule and I'll just copy that. Like I can regurgitate what you tell me. And so we're pushing them to really use their deep thinking to problem solve it instead of just being robots. And so that's new for them and uncomfortable for them. And the more we do it though, they might still be like, oh man, but they're gonna do it and they're comfortable with it. They just, find anything to be like, oh really, we got it. But they get better and better at it, and having to be forced that your reasoning, your how did you do this? Why did you do it? What was the mistakes? Not just to perform it. They've been getting deeper about it. They just don't realize as much. They're like, we gotta talk. Yep, and you are better for it.
So when you introduce a concept, and some of them get it, some of them don't, what do you do with the students that don't? Do you work with them separately? How do you realize, if they're in a small group, and if some of the people in the small group understand and some don't, how are you making sure that the other students understand it?
Okay. So because it's a new curriculum, we're also learning. So I think what's going to be really important is that so Math Integrated 1, we have adopted the entire curriculum from the starting. And in Math Integrated 2, I teach both, so I know I would be overwhelmed if I adopted both in the same year. So we just picked one topic to really focus on. So I think we're doing a good job at understanding what pre-skills they need prior, and because they expected that you did it all the way in the sequence. So it's my entry task before they warm up, I'm let's just do a quick review of square roots, and now we're actually going to solve them in a quadratic in square roots. So I think that's important, and then also there's cardinal time that we implement, but also we are going throughout the classroom, and then I think we're also, that collaboration also is if you get it, can you help somebody else as we help? So I think it's that fluid movement, all connecting piece, but
yeah, and then also how we group the students is a big part of it. So like I said, the group talk or the group activities that they do are a big part of it. And so at the table that you're at, there's a mix of students. So if you're not getting it, then maybe a neighbor can, and you're kind of problem solving together, where there's almost mini teachers at each of the tables to help, and you guys are all coming into it together. We also have one of the things that comes with the curriculum is these online resources. And so those throughout the lessons, they'll have where they'll have all the activities that they're doing, and then now do the practice for this, but instead of doing it your practice is just a worksheet that you gotta just get done and turn in, it's the online resources which have the step-by-step and hints as they go. So if you saw the step-by-step and you tried it but you're still having struggles, it will give you some, and if you're flying through it, that means you really get it. You are given the problems, that's done. But if you're struggling, it'll give you more problems till you get proficient at it. And so that time that we spend in the class, the kids who get it, they're going. So then our time can be spent helping the kids who are struggling and helping them use those resources on it to help them. And that's every couple of days of the lesson when we're doing the group checks to see are the kids getting where they need to be, and then helping those kids where we can. It is, yeah, and also it does fly. It's very nice of a system, what we can see on our end, what the kids get on their end, very, like awesome.
I have a couple of questions. Paul. So is the iReady a time test?
I don't believe so. I think it's, so when we took it in the first round in October, it's just a window. So like within 21 days, the student needs to finish. So, like we spent a lot of the class time with majority of the students, and then when it got down to a few students who still needed, then we like pulled them in for cardinal time and stuff like that to have them finish. So it wasn't like you need to finish all these questions in 3 hours. It's just go at your own pace to get done, but don't let it hinder you if you like get stuck on a question. If you don't know, try your best, but then you can keep going, and that will show us that that's a skill that you can have.
So if they're answering a question and they don't answer it within a certain amount of time, does it shut down? That's what.
No, just within the like 21-day window.
Okay. So, and how are you finding the two different? Because obviously, already has, since it has that pathway, it has a curriculum sort of embedded in it. So, how are you finding those two different curriculums working together for the students? Because you've got a new curriculum, but you've got a new assessment program.
How they work together, I feel like some of the kids are liking the mind path because they feel like, okay, like you're asking questions I can handle, you're starting at a level I can do. And that we're doing like, we're trying to do on Fridays, maybe every Friday or every other Friday, and then like any of the free time that we have that like if you finish an activity early. But the other ones are happening more frequently, so I feel like the kids are, like they like them maybe equally as much.
Yeah, it's like, I think the students are so used to like technology that they're not really finding like a hard balance, in my opinion. It's like one kid, when he was doing my path, he was like, I actually like it because it's actually, I'm learning something, and it's like geometry. And then they know that this online part is, you know, where we need them to be. And then the more they get fluent with using the computer, hopefully with the SBA, as they're typing in their answers and doing the math, and then practicing on paper will help with the SBA as well, since everything's on the computer.
Which was my last question. Was,
Okay.
How are you seeing this as getting them ready? Do you see this working well with the SBA?
Yeah, I think so, because the questions the curriculum's asking, the SBA asks those concrete questions style. You know, it's not just, you know, can you do 2x plus 3 equals 10? There might be some of those, but can you actually understand what your answer is? Can you see the simple mistake that a student made in what step? Do you agree, disagree? Can you formulate sentences to support your answer? And we're practicing that through in class.
Thanks.
Cool stuff.
Next up, we're going to do a little bit of a switch. Our next teacher has an online appointment, I believe it's 7, so we're going to jump to goal 4, if that's okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that now. Ms. Marquez is in charge of special ed. Assistant Principal Marquez will kick us off.
All right, so goal 4 for us revolves around increasing our students on an IEP with their math and ELA levels. So we're hoping that by the end of the year, we'll increase their qualifying areas by more than a year of growth, because we are working really hard to try and close that gap of our most neediest learners. One way that we are trying to do this, or going forward to attack this, is really looking at the curriculum that we're using, in addition to the iReady and the assessments that we're given. So Ms. Bannon, who is one of our special education teachers, is going to come and talk to us about what some of the changes that's been happening, not just in our resource classes with our students, but also in transitions classes. And Ms. Babcock, who is our life skills teacher, wanted to be here, but she had a family commitment, so she couldn't make it. But I've got some slides from her that I will share for her. Ms. Bannon?
I know I've spoken in front of some of you before, last year around this time actually, doing a similar kind of conversation. So we are in a similar boat to our gen ed English and math teachers, looking at how we can help our students close their learning gaps. Previous to this year, we've kind of come up with our own curriculum to use in SMED, but this year Dr. Westover gave us some funds to actually look at a Read 180 Math 180 curriculum. And then when iReady came into the district, we also started using that as a normal benchmark platform as well, because that way we're doing what our gen ed counterparts are also doing. So, and I have a couple of updates, but Ms. Marquez is going to go over the stuff for Ms. Babcock. So,
So one of the big changes in our life skills classroom this year is that they have a curriculum. It's ULS, which stands for, you're going to tell me on this, Ms. Bannon?
Unique learning system.
Unique learning systems. And so it's curriculum that's kind of pared down to their levels. Our life skills kids tend to be students whose academic levels range around the kindergarten level. One area that Ms. Babcock noticed she really struggles with is students with science. They don't typically have a science curriculum or have any science work that they do. Part of the ULS curriculum has allowed them to do science this year. She said prior to this year, one of the things she would do is when they do their testing, they start in January, kind of get a pre-test. She spends maybe 2 months trying to teach them some science, and then they test again. And she said she's never really seen significant growth. This year, through ULS, they have started to see some growth because it's been a year-long thing. It's supposed to be just the juniors, those who are classified as juniors, but her class is very mixed, so she's got some freshmen in there as well. She provided me with this. It's a data snapshot of where they've been so far this year. It's not all of their assessments or all of their activities, but she wanted to kind of give us a good level where we're at. So she had each student, and they had different goals that they were trying to meet each time. So the first time they did the activity, most students weren't asking questions. One student did, says, why does this happen? But there wasn't a whole lot of learning. They might have been engaged or curious about it, but they weren't actively engaged in it. The second time she went through this, she said there was a lot more participation. Some students had 20%, they needed some help to get focused. Some of them were moving around the room, but they weren't asking questions. One person needed a lot of assistance. One made 30%, but they didn't collect all their data that they needed. Next. I'm not going to read this. This was her reflection. So I've got 2 sides. The first one was after they did the very first activity, and she said, you know, it was great. The kids liked it. They participated, but they weren't fully engaged. Like they used it. She got prepared so they could focus on it, but they weren't asking questions. But she knew that the kids enjoyed it, and she actually enjoyed teaching the science. She did a mid-year reflection, in which she said the students actually now come in and they look forward to science. They really enjoy learning the activities that they're participating in. They work together to try and kind of go through the science process and do the experiments. And they've now started to ask questions. Why does this happen? What makes this happen? How come this works differently if I use a different material? Right? Why does a volcano blow up? They were talking, I think, today about genodes. And then one of the questions is, when we did the geomess and they wanted to see a map of Morocco, and they wanted to know where exactly in Morocco the geodes were coming from, because they were talking about this. So the kids are starting to get more inquisitive about the science and about the world around them outside of boarding. So it's been a great kind of growth for her, and she's seeing that growth, and she's hoping that translates for these kids when they start getting to their state testing.
Thank you. One of the new roles that I've taken on this year is actually our transition students who are aged 18 to 22, and actually finding them areas in our community where they can actively work and participate, volunteer. So it's been rewarding but challenging. We do have a small community. So some of the stuff I'll cover with this is the community jobs they are currently doing, the career exploration opportunities that we've opened up for them, their independent living, which is starting some of their science and math skills as well, and financial readiness, because it's something that they need to understand when they're going into employment, especially with regards to, when do I get a paycheck? Like, and what does it mean when I get a paycheck? So this is one of our students who actually just got a job right across the street over at Anytime Fitness. So today was his second day. So I actually took his picture while he was doing his cleaning duties at the very end. But he is just one of the students that we actually have out there actively working. So we are starting to get a lot of our community partners engaged in wanting to help find our students with disabilities employment. These are some of the opportunities that they've actually been out on. So one of our students really loves music. So he usually likes to go into Mr. Baroker's classroom and start practicing his piano skills. He also goes over to our district office, usually at least one period a day, Monday through Thursday, to do some district shredding. So if you ever need something shredded, he's your boy. And then this afternoon, we actually went out to the Clean Food Farm over on Orville Road. So Mr. Bailey is here giving all of my students an actual lesson on what it means to own a farm, and deep freeze blueberries as well as grow different conifers and stuff. So, next one. These are some of the areas that we are actually looking at exploring for the students. So last Monday, we actually went to the UPS right across the street, and they got to learn about what it means to package and deliver and do mail and fingerprinting and passport photos, so they were very thrilled with that. Today we went to Clean Food Farm. Monday we have an appointment to go see the Rainbow Connection daycare down the road. We have an appointment scheduled with the post office in early March, and the City Hall is actually starting to get us set up with some stuff to do, just a tour of that, looking at the local law enforcement, fire department, what it means to be a mayor versus a governor versus a president, so that they actually start understanding a little bit about government as well. Our Chamber of Commerce representative, John Park, wants us to volunteer at the Daffodil Parade, and we also volunteer at the Food Bank. They are starting to participate in our little pop cart, so we're just waiting on the health department to actually be able to serve coffees to our staff and black coffees to our students. So our independent living, we take them out usually on a weekly thing. And the left is the cooking classes that they do every Friday. And then January was a month of let's explore the different libraries and see what you enjoy. So they've been picking up books, they've been exploring the things they're interested in, they're reading them, checking them out continuously because they love their books and they're really enjoying having that opportunity to read.
Oh, and the YMCA just got back to me and they're interested in partnering, so we're just gonna work out those kids on the summer.
Perfect.
We have taken them out to different ATMs and stuff around the community because if you haven't noticed, a lot of places no longer take cash. So something that they've been learning a lot, especially in elementary and middle school, is how to use cash, next dollar up strategies. But now we're having to change that on them and go, well, no, now you need to get used to using a debit card. What does a debit card mean? How do you use your PIN? And then looking at the different paychecks, writing checks. There are more than one form of payment that you can use when you go to a store. So it's been rewarding but challenging. And then to go into our ELA and math, we started looking at what we want for our students. So we want targeted student growth
And it was a matter of, well, how do we get that? So right now we are using iReady consistently. We use the MyPath, and that the students really love that because it gives them the skill that they need, so they don't have to wait on other students. Or they might be introduced to a new skill and they still need that prerequisite skill. So it's really helping them kind of close those gaps. So we're using Math and Read 180 to help facilitate that as well. So we're using the targeted curriculum. About 2 days a week we use the targeted curriculum so that they actually have that direct, explicit instruction they need. But then we'll supplement that with the hands-on materials that they need. That way they're not getting bored with the curriculum, because a lot of our students that have disabilities really need the hands-on. So we try to target that as much as possible, staying in line with the scope and sequence of the curriculum as goes. So mainly we use iReady to do our benchmark assessments. We do use the math benchmark assessments through Math and Read 180 as well, because it forces you to 3 times a year, which is not a bad thing because it just shows student growth. Our students get a little frustrated because they're like, why do we have to do 2 tests? And it's like, because you're showing us how much growth you've made. It's great. And then we use their personal pathways a lot to help them. We use it as ongoing assessments, and we use it for our progress monitoring. So when we're reporting on goals, we can say your student has gotten from 30% to 70%, so they're definitely on track to meet their goal within their IEP plan period. So these are actually very small snippets, and I apologize. They could have been a little bit bigger. The 2 on the left are our actual progress monitoring. So there's an iReady and an iReady Pro. The iReady Pro is actually for students that are in grades 6 through 12. And iReady is for the kids that are still at the elementary level with regards to their skill levels. So the ones you see on the left are a mixture of both. So we have some kids that are at the 6th to 12th grade level, but the majority are still actually right on that cusp of actually moving. Because one of the things we want to do is when they're at that 7th, 8th grade level is get them into gen ed so they're working with their peers as much as possible.
Are these, the assessment information, is this information that you're sharing within parents when it comes to their IEP or
Yes.
Sorry, I'm supposed to use my, the question was, if you're sharing these with our families and our parents, and the reason I asked that is because we're doing so many really cool things in classrooms, and my question always is how are we bringing the community along with us and keeping them connected to what their kids are doing in the classrooms.
So usually what we will do is use their assessment data as part of their present levels. But the nice thing about iReady is it actually gives us those targeted skill areas that we can also develop their goals from. So it's like, okay, I know if I use, like if I look at the right, that's all my math stuff. So the math, you can see in the green, which means that those 2 particular skill areas, which are numbers and operations and measurements and statistics, the kids are at grade level. So I know for some of those, I don't actually have to target those areas to help the kids get up to their grade level standards. Where the ones on the bottom, so you see a lot of reds, and that's gives me the different grade levels for the different students. And if we go to the next slide, so on this one here, you can see that it actually gives me a developmental analysis and tells me this particular student really needs to work on these particular skills in order to meet their grade level peers. So we can then develop their specific IEP goal based on the gaps that they actually have. So it's no longer really a guessing game on how to create their goals based on non-standardized benchmark assessment. We now have standardized benchmark assessments that we can put their IEP goals against and then track them and monitor them and let the parents and families know that.
love that you have this. I really, I love this because it gives you so much more information. It gives you so much more information, and it gives you more time to work with them on what they actually need, and you're not having to do tons of things just to find out where they're at. I like it a lot.
It's definitely helped a lot. It takes the guesswork out of special education, which is very helpful in our land because it's such a wide variety of needs. So, yeah. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Carlson is going to come up and talk to us about Goal 2.
All right. You guys ask great questions. I love it. So we're going to talk next about Goal 2, which is family and community partnerships. One of the goals that we set this year was that we were going to try and engage parents in a different way. We struggled over the past couple of years, and you just said this, President Tito, about how do we get parents engaged in their kids' education and learning. So we're just going to quickly highlight, one of our goals this year is to establish a new launch in how we involve parents here at the high school. And so some of the things that we've done this year, we're just going to quickly touch on these for the sake of time. But what we've got going on here is a list, if you go to the next slide, of ways that we are thinking outside the box. Some of these have been protocol for a long time, but they're really important and they're going to link to Goal 3. Some of these will link to Goal 3 here in just a minute with our CARDS initiative. But discipline, every time we do discipline at a school, we are contacting a family. So it's not just you deal with the kids, send them back to class, and you don't make a connection, but you talk to that parent. We've really asked our teachers to engage at that through communication, two-way communication at the classroom level, and that starts there at the classroom so that the teacher and the parent are communicating. Not always easy, sometimes through email, sometimes through phone. People are busy, they want a text message, but this is some of our ongoing work around just day-to-day, operationally, where we get to touch base with families. FFA hosts and parent meeting. We have, couldn't be here tonight because their family is in Mexico, but we have the Sabins that are hosting 8 pigs on their site this year. As you know, last year we started our pig program for the junior livestock auction. We have over 20 pigs that our kids are showing this year. I think we're going to be close to 25, 9 on campus. So I just want you to think about that. Of more than half of our pigs are being hosted at a local site by a family. On partnering together, families partnering together to support their kids. We had over 30 parents, and we'll see a picture here in a minute, show up at a night event for that information. So those parents came in, got involved, parents talking to one another, talking about their kids' program and what they're doing. It's the way we want to see it. IEP meetings, as Julie talked about, and you heard through Tia about, we bring parents into every single one of those meetings, obviously by state law and federal policy, but also because we want to make sure that parents have input into their kids' education. Seasonal athletic parent meetings, something that Athletic Director Mr. Pauly started this year, and he'll share with you here in just a minute about something he's working on with an athletic code of conduct. But those seasonal parent meetings, so rather than coaches meeting, they bring them in here with all fall, all winter, all spring coaches. And they do one meeting for all parents, again, bringing more people in. CTSO information nights and competitions went up to the Museum of Flight last month. Career and technical student organizations. So FFA is one of those, sorry we have all those acronyms, right? Technology Student Associations, TSA. They went and competed at the Museum of Flight. Parents are at that event, just like you'd see them at a sporting event, but they're now coming, watching, participating, seeing what their kids are doing, what they're engaged in on the ground floor. So that's another way we're seeing that. FAFSA night. We had a FAFSA night for the first time ever. We actually invited parents to come, and we would be on the ground here assisting them. We had 6 parents show up with their kids to fill out their FAFSA right at the start of January. And then Mr. Pauly, you want to share just a little bit about the athletic kind of code of conduct and what you're doing there, and then we have a special presentation for you. Because we're going to talk about community parent partnerships and we got to keep a tradition going. But come on, Mr. Pauly, he's going to just share a little bit about this athletic code of conduct.
So the seasonal athletic parent meetings, we started those this year, and we get together as all the parents, all the coaches, all the sports for fall, winter, and spring, and then I give them the spiel overall athletics, and then they break into their individual groups, and the coaches have their parent meeting after that. The athletic code parent night, the input, I've been tasked with updating our athletic code, and to do that, we need input from all the different stakeholders, from parents, students, athletes, coaches, teachers, administrators, all of that. And so the feedback from parents, the athletic code parent night is the first step of that process. So get parents in, read the athletic code. I have a little bit of a plan, on what it is we want to talk about. Because I think there are three main topics we want to cover in adjusting and updating the athletic code, and that has to do with attendance, and then grades, and then discipline, and how those things impact athletics. And so those are the big three that we're really trying to tackle to start. And so we'll have an informational parent meeting, and then that'll come with the athletic code to look at, and then there's a survey that they take afterwards where they can give input on what they thought. We're also going to we'll send that home in an email to all of the families, as well as post a QR code on our social media and Parent Square and things like that, so where parents can log on to it, look at it, at the specifics of what they want to see, compare it, and then go in and answer questions. Some of the questions are simple yes and no, and then some of them are a paragraph where they can actually give their input. Like, do you think our grade policy should be more strict, right? Yes. Okay, but then at the end, now you can tell me why. So that way we can take the data and really look at what people think question by question, and then we can compile all of their answers in their paragraph answers into something we can look at and dive into. So we'll start with the parent night after this is over, although there's not a lot of people here, so we'll see how that goes, and then I'll also cover it in our spring seasonal meeting later this month on the 25th. So.
I really like that, Tyler, and I hope that we can find a way to and I hope that we can find a way to get parents to come to things like this. Like, I don't know what we do, but put it out, try to put it everywhere, and because this gives parents the perfect opportunity to tell you what they think is good, what's working, what's not working, and I love that. Parents can't ask for more than that, so that's great.
Well, we really want input from the stakeholders because we want it to be an advisory decision, not from the top down. Here's what we're going to do. Get input, and then look at that input, analyze it, and then come to a decision that makes sense for everybody. And then the other thing is, I believe that it's important to have not just one event. We're hoping everyone shows up, but have multiple events throughout the rest of this year so that we can get people in more than once, shorter amounts of time, but more often.
Right.
So that's our plan.
I just want to say I love that you're trying something new and different, and I appreciate that. And that also the invitation to provide input is sometimes just as important to the parents as being able to submit a comment. So we appreciate that you're asking the community and asking parents to be involved and share their thoughts, and if they do, wonderful, and if they don't, ask again.
Right on. Thank you.
I have a quick question. So they don't come, and then later they come to you with a question. Can you say to them, hey, I want to fill this out and give me some more input? Or is it a one-time only thing?
It's not a one-time only.
Excellent.
I've been working close with Mr. Fries, our school principal, on setting up a way to look at that data. So if I meet with you and I explain the things that are in the athletic code, then you take a survey that talks about, there are two surveys. There's one survey that comes with an explanation, and then you take that survey. And if I just cold call, send it home to you, then that's the same survey, but it's separated so that we can look at the data of the people who got an explanation feel this way, and the people who just did it on their own feel this way. Not that we are going to believe one over the other, but so we can look at, does the explanation of the athletic code have an impact on your answers or how you feel about the athletic code and the different things? Because, you might say, it says in there, kids should come to school to be able to play sports. Yes, right? But do they know that you have to be in school 3 classes a day to practice, all 6 periods in a day to participate in a game? they may not have read close enough, but if they're there for the explanation, they'll have a better understanding. So it's just a way to look at the data when we come to making our decision. Just one quick little thing, I do want to recognize we had parents who were down 2 weeks ago down on the softball and baseball field. They were helping tear down the dugouts because we're rebuilding the baseball and softball dugouts. Our maintenance department's been hard at work getting those things ready to be put up later this month, but we had parent support down there helping with tools and saws and taking everything down. And then I think you wanted to share something, right?
Yes, I did, because I saw them, I saw you and Mr. James Whitaker working down there, tearing it down, and you told me about it. And I was so excited that finally they're being replaced, but also that the parents and the kids were involved. Curtis, today on my walk, I saw the partitions that are going to go together when you put them together. And I just love that it's parents, kids, everybody working together to make our fields better. So thank you, and I wanted to thank Mr. Whitaker for helping.
Yeah, we couldn't have done what we did on that Saturday without Mr. Whitaker and his dump trailers. So it was great for him to come down. Kids were there. I think they posted on social media. I do also want to thank our parent group from last year who donated money to both our programs to do that, plus the fundraising from the girls, plus Arrow's helping us out, and another company from up in Puyallup donated some stuff too to make sure this happened. And our maintenance department is building in sections so that it can go up, and we're going to hopefully have all 4 dugouts up in one day. So that's the plan.
So Arrow's also helping? Okay, so I have to go by and say thank you.
So real quickly, we'll show a couple pictures here. I'm going to ask Alfred and Paige and some special guests to come on up from our FFA. This was our family night for pigs. You can see that was Miss Irwin. Mrs. Irwin got married. Mrs. Irwin's portable classroom, packed house for that evening event that took place back in November. This is the pickup, the delivery day here at the school, but we also had, like I said, almost 25 pigs delivered all over the community. Every single parent, every single kid present. If we go to the next slide. They're all going up for auction. April, I believe the auction is the same day as Easter this year. So I do not know what the fair was thinking, but that's out of my...
The day after prom.
The day after prom. But come on over. I'd like to introduce Paige and Alfred, and they just want to they're going to quickly share how these family and community partnerships as FFA members continues to bolster our kids' lives in our school and their opportunities. So I'm going to turn over to them.
Hello, my name is Paige Anderson. I am a senior here at Orting High School, and I am the Orting FFA chapter reporter. I'm going to look at my notes really quick and just make sure that I'm speaking to you guys and sharing all the information that I think is really vital for you to know. Because our FFA program here is very strong, especially compared to the other schools that we have across the state and across the nation. When you speak to them, very few of them have the level of involvement that we do, or 25 pigs. I mean, to even look at something similar to this, you have to go to somewhere like Oklahoma or Texas, where it's like a very common activity. So I think it's very great that we are so involved as a community and as FFA members ourselves. So I began raising rabbits when I was 10 years old, and I lived in the city, so the amount of livestock animals that I could have to choose from were very limited, and as a 10-year-old, my capabilities of caring for large animals were also limited. So we chose as a family to start out doing rabbits, and I started showing 4-H. Since being a 10-year-old, I was very timid. I couldn't really talk to people, and I was very terrified of any form of public speaking or doing any type of talking to a judge or anything like that. But now I am an outgoing 18-year-old, and I have a
dream of working within agricultural communications, and without the exposure to these things through my rabbit project, I would not be where I'm at right now, and I would not be wanting to go into agricultural communications. The skills that I have developed in the last 8 years through the connections with my rabbits have led me to have opportunities to travel the country and show at national shows. So I've shown at the American Rabbit Breeders Association National Convention 4 times. I brought home 2 national titles, and I have also won scholarships to further my education through my rabbits, and then I have furthered my livestock involvement by, I picked up Columbia sheep. I'm the only person on the west side of Washington with Columbias, and I'm the only youth in the entire state with this breed. And I've also gotten the opportunity to attend the North American International Livestock Exhibition, which is the largest livestock exhibition in the world. These national events are extremely impactful to students like myself because it gives us the opportunity to network with people that have the same connections as us. So I've met hundreds and hundreds of people that do things completely differently than I do, but have the same love and the same passion for these animals that I have. And I believe that rabbits are extremely versatile. They can be kept in a variety of households, from in an apartment to a farm, and they don't come with huge daily commitments or laborious tasks. Rabbits are often quiet, clean, and odorless. I'm extremely grateful for Orting FFA for allowing me to express my passion for my rabbits through the chapter. Last year I connected with some of our FFA members and gave them the opportunity to show some of my personal animals to gain experience with communicating with other people and also showing animals at a fair. Since, like I said, rabbits are pretty easy to keep up with. It's easy to learn how to show them because they're smaller. So I have had the pleasure of guiding both Alfred and Alexis Walmwell through their own rabbit journeys. So from doing anything from showmanship practices to watching them do their very own showmanship classes and bringing home awards at our Washington State FFA exhibition at the Washington State Fair in Toronto. So hundreds of people got to see their animals and both of the showmen that we had. And our FFA program is one of the very few that allows our FFA members to explore, to learn, and to teach each other. This is due to our advisor, Mrs. Irwin, who has taken it upon herself to allow us to have that open environment that we're able to provide each other with this learning experience. So raising rabbits has opened the doors from 4-H to FFA to national events and communicating with my community and community members, and I have had the opportunity to raise a market hog this year. So I've connected with I think about 16 businesses this morning to try to get donations. So I think the big takeaway from starting out with a small livestock project like this is that it can expand to something so much larger, and most of these kids don't even know that, like, you just take a step into this and then you can end up with the sheer amount of animals that I have and the passion that I have for it as well. It's extremely amazing.
I just have to ask, how do you show them? What exactly do you do when you show them?
So during the type show for rabbits, they are put into cages kind of similar to this, but the cages open in the front, and they're all kind of lined up on a table, and the judge takes them each out and identifies the characteristics that each breed has. So it's kind of similar to a dog show that you've ever been, or just any other type of animal show. Each breed has their own breed-specific characteristics. We have over 50 breeds in the American Rabbit Breeders Association, and we have a standard of perfection that we go off of to judge these rabbits. Every single breed has a breed-specific disqualification with the exception of one. So that tells you that there's a very large amount of knowledge that you can learn from raising these rabbits. And when we're doing showmanship, it's a little bit different. So we have our rabbit on a carpet square in front of us, and we are showing the judge different types of things like their teeth and their eyes. We also show them their ears, and then we get a lot of opportunities to talk about it. So that's something that's completely varied from even showing sheep or showing pigs, which is something that I have seen and have experience with as well. You don't talk as much doing that. So I gained the opportunity to speak more because of the showmanship skills that we have to learn to know to win.
You mentioned agricultural communication, and I'm curious about that. What does that look like? What kind of job or career would that be in agricultural communication?
So with the degree in agricultural communications, I'm looking at a couple different schools for it. I haven't quite decided on one yet, but I would study there, and then I would take it a little bit further. I want to do some internships on public relations through a couple different agricultural communities. But my current goal, though this might change throughout the next couple of years as I do job shadowings and my internships, my goal is to work through the USDA and work in public communication. So I'd be communicating between farms and the public themselves, or vice versa, or the government through the farms as well, so that I can communicate directly what's going on, so that we can make sure that the stereotypes that we have about agriculture currently are broken down and kind of debunked.
I have a comm degree, and so, yes, I'm very curious.
I appreciate that. Alfred has also prepared something to talk about also.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so here you go.
Hi, my name is Alfred. Alfred Walnut, sorry. It is my second year at this high school, and I'm a sophomore. It's my second year showing rabbits so far. I've really enjoyed it. Last year I competed in the Washington State Fair at the fair. And I met so many new people, so many other kinds of rabbits. I learned so much information about them and where they're found and located at. I learned this new thing called a peanut. Peanuts are a gene that is inherited by two dwarf rabbits. There's kind of hard chance to get one, you know? It's when they have a kid and the kid cannot survive a couple of months and they're too small to live, so they can't survive sadly. I won best opposite sex of rabbit for free. I got a plaid ribbon that I hung up on the wall for my rabbit. They judged him on his color, his punch on his back too. It's like a bird. It's like a bird. Sorry, this is my first time.
So will we go back to the fair this year?
Yes, I will. Best of breed again.
Best of breed again, and then how many rabbits will Boarding Athletic be showing this year at the fair? Because I'm coming to see them, so.
It depends on what fair you're talking about. If we're talking about Washington State Fair, that's completely up to Alfred and then the next class that's coming in. I want to encourage the rabbits on the upcoming classes as well because they're so easy to raise that it's an easy project to start out with. So I hope that we have 5 to 10 kids that are wanting to show some rabbits at the fair.
Will you be at the spring fair?
I will be at the spring fair. I don't know if we can show FFA for spring fair. So that's something that we definitely have to talk to Mrs. Irwin about. But we are planning on going to King County and Pierce County Fair this year. So I usually display between 5 and 10 rabbits at fairs. And then Alfred and Alexis Woolmel usually show 2.
And then, so do we have district rabbits or they're with the kids now?
They're with the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, so
this is my,
I still had no idea we had over 20 pigs. So I was just wondering how large the farm was getting.
So the rabbits are bred at this point. That's a student-led project on their own that we aren't entering into having rabbits down below yet because we don't have the capacity for that for a couple reasons. Raccoons. But yeah, these are housed on their own sites.
But there is a wild one that lives down there.
There is. Yes, there is.
You guys were very impressive. Thank you for sharing about rabbits. I'm anxious to hear more about them as we progress. And yeah, very cool. Thank you. I love that this is student-led as well. I love the agency in action.
Well, what you saw here too is you got someone coaching someone else. I mean, Red in action here. And I could go on and on about these guys and why we have these programs. But for the sake of time, just know that all of the things we do here at the high school, all the things that you're behind and the goals you've set, they're the right goals for kids and our community and our families. And there's just so much behind all these stories that you could hear about. But this is an example of two individuals, and Alexis couldn't be here tonight, Alfred's sister, but just doing things and making inroads in an organization and in a place here in the school where they belong that maybe wouldn't happen if we didn't have this opportunity. So thanks you guys for coming on out. Here's what we'll do. We won't take the rabbits out and do all that, but you can just kind of bring them forward and they can kind of quickly, because for the sake of time, I want to move us on to our third goal. If you want to hold the rabbit, do you want to hold the rabbits?
They're really soft. They're just little itty babies. They're about 6 weeks old. They'll only be as big as the mama in here, so they'll be about 3 pounds each.
You said they were easy. Yes. They're easy.
I mean, I believe I have over 25 rabbits at this point, and it takes me 30 minutes at most to take care of all of them every single day. Unless I decide to go and love on them, which I do, and then cleaning cages is a completely different story. But when you only have one, the daily care takes about 30 minutes for the rabbits.
She did offer to bring rabbit jerky. I chose not to.
She encouraged it. Not particularly these ones because they're a little bit too small, but I do have a larger breed of heritage rabbits that are bred for me, and when they don't meet the standard that we need to have to output these heritage breeds, we have to pull them. So that's why I butcher rabbits.
I did want to ask that.
Yeah, I completely understand. That's something that we do as like a FFA market project as well. The last time I raised a market rabbit, I think I sold the rabbit itself for about $40, but I made about $300 in add-ons from talking to the community members. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Alfred. And the reason Mrs. Irwin isn't here tonight, she would be with her kids, is because she's at a neighboring district FFA event judging tonight. She's a guest judge at a neighboring district, so otherwise she would have been here. You've seen this presentation ahead of time, so again, for the sake of time, I'm going to high level these data points. Our goal 3 is really what I'm excited about all this, but I get emotional about goal 3. And that's because we come out of COVID, we saw a lot of kids already not treating each other real well. So we look at whole child, we think about not just the learner, but the human being, right? We think about dignity and all the work that we've done here as a district around dignity, trying to get this message across that we're humans first. And we got to treat each other well. So we looked at some data last year, a little subjective. We had to kind of think about which discipline referrals were we struggling with the most. And short and sweet, it's the really unkind behaviors that we were seeing student to student that were really bothering us. Really, at our gut level, just saying, this isn't right, what do we do about it? We counted about 32 behaviors last year that we could say didn't meet the muster for what we would expect for Cardinals Way, for the Cards Way. We started this journey 2 years ago where we started to talk about how do we have a set of values live in our school culture, in our school community, that the behaviors change because the values that we state are aligned and there's expectations about what we want to see. That's hard work in a community. It involves parents, it involves kids, it involves your staff. So last year we went through a norming process of our values that involved input from teachers, staff, and students. We launched it this year, we branded it, it's called The Cards Way. Our goal was to see a decrease by 50%, cut those behaviors in half. I can report that halfway through the year, we're on track to meet that mark. We have 6 referrals that have come through, which is a decrease. We were at 32 by the end of last year. So we're on track to reach that goal. And one of the stories I wanted to tell, and I'm going to invite Bryce and his mom Melinda to come up. And I'm so sad. I'm laughing. I'm not sad. I'm laughing because you had to sit through this whole night, and I know how anxious you were. So, but Bryce and Melinda are just, I was talking to Melinda I think it was Monday on the phone, about, let's just be real, about the difficulty of this work, right? Being a cardinal and all that is hard, and the world we're living in is tough, and raising kids is hard, and educating kids is really tough. Well, the story goes like this. We want to see every kid get recognized for something positive, right? Not just the bad things that happen, but the good things. Teenagers make mistakes. We all know this. They learn from them. They grow. They get better. But they got to have someone in their corner, cheering them on. They got to have someone. They got to see that there's a difference that they're making, and when they do something good. So we initiated this campaign, as you heard about at our board work session back in November, where we had the cards, right? And the story you're about to hear tonight just authentically came out of a phone call that I made to Melinda back in November about a minor thing, maybe a cell phone thing, where I had to talk to tardies, low-level stuff, right? And Bryce transferred here towards the middle of freshman year and came to us. And so this conversation with Melinda and I started off with, hey, I got to talk to you about something that happened, low level, nothing bad. And from there it was, I just got to tell you about a card my kid brought home. And he showed me. And that, I was like, that was huge, because we launched this in September, and this phone call took place in October and November. So I got a mom on the phone telling me, hey, I just want you to know, what's this deal with this card that you're doing? Because it made a difference, because my son kept it and brought it home. And he showed it to me, and it made a difference in his life. And so I want you to hear that story from their perspective. So I'm going to start with Bryce. So I want to just hit, you're doing awesome, man. Bryce is now a junior. He's on track to graduate. Bryce, like, we talk about summits, like what do you want to do after high school? Not like a job necessarily, but do you have like a dream or a goal for what you want to do with your own summit?
No, not really. Like job-wise, I'm going to be a barber. I'm going to open my own barber shop, but nothing really like specific.
That's it, right? Yeah. But being a barber, right? Okay. So I asked Bryce, hey Bryce, what is it about the Cards Way that resonates with you? I'm looking at the poster up here on the wall that spells out, and he just gave me immediately just like answered, and I'm just going to have him share from his heart, like, why was this important to him, and how did he link onto it as a student? So go ahead.
So I think that a lot of the students get mixed up with teachers, that they're here to discipline you and stay on your butt and write you up when you make a mistake or do something wrong. And that's kind of like, that breaks down a student, like inside, and it maybe hurts him. But I think that following the Cards Way as a student and getting acknowledged for it and getting shouted out and getting a card for it, or maybe just like a little bit of acknowledgement, it could change a lot, and it could change the way, it could change a kid's life. And going around the school and making it known that you guys are going to be acknowledging, you're doing good in the school, it's going to change a lot. It's going to impact the whole school, because word's going to get around that, hey, they're handing out this Cards Way card, so-and-so did good this week, or he did something good to another student, and kids are just going to become more closer, and it's going to be more of like, not only a school, but like a home, if that makes sense. I think kids, kids need to be encouraged.
Let me ask you this. You told me something about dependability, I believe. Is that the one you kind of called out? And compassion. Yeah. How did you internalize dependability and compassion as a student? Like, why do you think those are important?
Because if you're not independent, you can't get stuff done like schoolwork by yourself. Because the teacher's job is to only give you the schoolwork and teach you the lesson. But if you can't go home and take it in, bring it in, and use it during homework or during a test. And you can't be dependent, you can't depend on your own, opinion. You're not going to really be successful through school. Being compassionate, like I said, if you're compassionate with other students and you have passion towards each other, the school's going to feel like more of a home. So,
One thing that would be really easy to look at Bryce or see Bryce or talk to Bryce or not know Bryce. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is not know Bryce and dismiss him quickly as someone who isn't compassionate, right? Because you don't know him. But as soon as you get to know Bryce, what you realize is there is a heart of compassion in this young man for other people. And I think there's a real attention our kids face every day they come to school now. And it's always been this way, but do I be the real authentic me, or do I put on the front to be something somebody else needs to see? And so the more we have this stuff live and we become a closer-knit community, the more people can be who they really are. And I think that Bryce is showing who he really is in really positive ways in our school this year. And that doesn't mean he's still not learning, right? But it means we grow together. And Mom, I'm going to just ask you to share, like from the heart, as a mom. I know you prepared some comments because I know this is nerve-wracking. But Melinda, I don't know if you're going to say this, but Melinda was an Orting High School student, right?
I graduated in 2006.
2006, so not that long ago. But I'm going to have you share with the board from the heart just what you think as a mom.
So I know for him being recognized as the Cards Way, it really, it made a difference for him as a student because he struggled as a new student, 9th grade, 10th grade. This year when they started the Cards Way, he's gotten 3 and therefore acceptance because he's always open to thoughts, ideas in the classroom. He makes sure that everybody's treated with respect. And he is doing better in school now that he's getting these recognitions. And I think that teachers just need to utilize that more because sometimes they just need like words of encouragement. They need positive feedback. And we get so stuck on the day-to-day routine of just, oh, what they did wrong, or they did that wrong, this wrong, and you know, it's just, and it's easy to do that, but when you have that positive feedback and positive reinforcement, it makes them do better. It builds positive student-teacher relationships, which make it better for the student to want to come to school and learn. And it just, overall, I think it does a lot in the environment of being a student at the high school. I'm so proud of him because he is trying really hard this year, and I can see that. I'm so nervous, I'm sorry guys. And I don't know, I'm just very grateful for the program. And yeah, I think when I got the phone call, he was getting an attention for parties, and I was just like, Mr. Carlson, Mr. Williams just, gave Bryce this really nice card, and he's so proud of it, and he took a picture, and he showed me, and he sent it to me, and teachers should do this more because it meant something to him. And he joined the wrestling team this year. He was not really involved in anything, so I think he just feels more welcome now because, I don't know, when you just have that, teacher compliment, it just, I don't know, it made a difference. And I think that it should be, when they're showing these 5 traits, it should be recognized because it really does go a long way. And he's a witness of that. So, yeah, and I think positive student-teacher relationships are so important because if you don't have a relationship with them because you don't know them, there's a gap there, and then they're not going to focus, like, I'm getting a little bit, I don't know, so I'm just very grateful for him receiving 3 of those so far, and I just hope that the teachers can utilize that a little bit more and with other students, and it will just maybe make it a positive place.
If you want that. Does that work?
Yeah.
You feel like you said everything you need to say?
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of.
I'll have a copy of this for you as a board, okay, so you can see mom's comments.
Linda's being really kind, because I want to be really transparent here. This is not just students, but it is staff. And this is not a parent who's just had wonderful, wonderful experiences like the kid. There's no pushback from the work with Melinda and Bryce. And we have not always treated Bryce the cards way. I'm going to say that publicly for Bryce. So this represents real work here, where both Mom and Bryce have had, this didn't feel real good. If this is true, how are we acting? So you're really kind, you guys can say that. But it's work for adults and kids to do, and it's work that's ongoing and we all need to grow in. So students are not the only ones making mistakes. We as adults make mistakes too. So we're all growing in one team. They probably didn't tell us.
Everybody plays their part.
That's right. She's doing the hard work.
So Bryce, hot off the press and board, you got one of these. We told you we were going to be 3D printing some backpack charms. Bryce, you get the backpack charm tonight. You're showing up, man. That one's hot off the press from Wisconsin STEM class. But they've been doing that in collaboration with our tech department and our graphic design. So all that student created and adult assisted is how we say it, right? But we're proud of you, man. Keep it up. I just want to say, I want to show you this. At this point in the school year, 44%, just under 44% of our kids, we track this, right? So we track who's getting these cards and who's getting this recognition. So almost half, we're just over halfway through the year, have received some positive recognition this year in some formal capacity. And we know that's going to grow, and we put an emphasis on it. And it really supports the feeling of belonging here at the school. And it is palpable, and you can feel the difference. It doesn't mean we don't have hard days. And you know that. We're fighting a good fight. So any questions you have about the whole child and this goal around increasing our dignity here at Oregon High School?
I just wanted to say thank you, Melinda, for your courage of coming to talk to us and talking about something that's so emotional. So thank you. And Bryce, way to go, good job. And I have to say, I think maybe Barbara is a good thing, because I really like
One of the reasons we love, as I started out the evening, is saying these are some of our favorite meetings, and this is why. Because it's gone from a presentation, a plan, a goal that our leadership has, and then we get to see it in action in real life examples. And yes, thank you for having the courage to speak. We want to be warm, welcoming.
You guys are. I'm just nervous.
Yeah, you did fantastic. We appreciate you for sharing your story. And Bryce, man, nice job. Nice job. We're glad you're here, and thanks for sharing your story too. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Very good. And I told Bryce, because he waited so long, Mr. Carlson was going to talk to him about some on-campus lunches here. I said, call him, Bryce, call him up.
Oh, yeah. I'll make copies for the board.
This has been really long, and I was reflecting out of fear earlier about how long it takes to do this sometimes. But it's hard when if you want to be genuine, and you hand the mic to someone that says, I want you to talk about the work you've done, to put a time limit on that, it's all getting better at it. But when you see those people, there's so much pride. Like I was watching her with the rabbits and just telling her story. When Bryce tells a story, I can't click a stopwatch on that, right? So the teachers share all the work they're doing. They have been living it and doing hard work, and that's just hard to fit inside of. I'm thinking Mr. Pauly, pretty much gave him 30 seconds to talk about. He's been spending nights, and he's done a lot of work, and you just have that little moment in time and want to honor that work. So our apologies for taking so long, but thank you for being patient.
I'll speak for myself. This is why we do what we do, is to see this in action. So I don't want you to feel like you have to apologize.
Anything else for us for good of the order?
Well, thank you for having the teachers and the students talk. Yes.
Mostly I was just supposed to do most of it. Perfect. Thank you guys, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Sat down.
Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our high school presentation, and the next item is any board comments. I would just, again, just like to say thank you very much to our parents, student, and staff presenters. This is powerful, meaningful work.
I tried really hard not to comment during the meeting because I was taking notes, but I just wanted to share. Everybody that presented, and I know that the kids have left, but they all had an impact on me. Firstly, with Justin McKinney, he was so well-spoken, and that is a student that I am very proud to send out as an Ording graduate into the world. When somebody asks him where he's from, and he says Ording School District, I'm like, well, heck yeah. That kid's got it going on. I love that. When it came to math, I just had this conversation yesterday with my boss at work, and he was asking me, why all this critical thinking crap? Quote unquote. And I didn't know how to explain it, and I wish he would have been here, because it really makes sense. And not just memorizing and becoming robots with math and knowing how to solve something, but why. As to your point at the very beginning of this program. You had the goal for the SPED and the transitions. The community involvement with that program is phenomenal. That's very exciting stuff. And all those kids, all the kids in our high school is all deserving of that, all of it. The involvement from parents with the seasonal athletic parent meeting, that's phenomenal. I love that you're getting actually parents' involvement on recreating and changing the athletic code. That's fantastic. Paige Anderson up there, to think that she was timid and couldn't speak, and no public speaking, not going to do that, and listen to her now. And empowering the student next to her to become stronger in his journey with what he's doing. And then, of course, the whole child with the dignity and the Cards Way. Not gonna lie, I had a couple tears in my eyes when Bryce was telling his story, and the one thing that I think really got me was when he was talking about how when you're quote-unquote disciplined at school, it kind of makes you feel bad about yourself, and he comes home with this card, and it helped him change. I feel like he was saying, changed a little bit of how he saw himself. And once you get that change, it's only upward trajectory from there, you know, and I also put that as a nation. So thank you so much. I love the school presentations as well, and just very effective. Thank you.
I didn't take my notes to ask you questions, so I've already said it all, so thanks.
I just think Melissa did an amazing job of showing you guys how we feel. Every single presentation, awesome. So thank you for putting it into words like that, Melissa. And you guys really, you guys are awesome. I just love tonight. I love it. And so couldn't ask for anything more.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
This was mom's prepared marks. You guys did. And then I have one for my folks who is
All right, board, thank you very much. With that, I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:45.